Hi, it's Mark Halpern. So I forgot. Oh, I apologize. You go first. Okay. I didn't know. I'm sorry. I made a mistake.
Okay. As we all know, this is Mark Halpern. And I'm
Hey,
Josh Kaller.
Yay.
And we're here today to discuss new strategies of philanthropy and giving, right? So we are here to discuss a unique, I guess like a new strategy that's probably most people have never heard of,
For sure.
right? And it has a special title. What is it called?
It's called My Par Gift.
My Par Gift. Now we're going to unfold that for a second or double click on it. What does My Par Gift mean?
Actually, forget the name. They didn't ask me for my advice on that. It actually was the first life insurance product ever launched in Canada specifically for charitable giving. There's no other product like it. It's only for charitable giving. And what's unique about it, Josh?
Mm-hmm.
It's only one premium.
That's it.
One and done.
One and done. Everyone loves that idea.
That's it. So imagine, the minimum investment or the minimum premium one time is $10,000. So if you give $10,000 of cash or a check or a credit card or securities, let's say to a charity, so you get a charitable receipt for that. So let's say your net cost now is $5,000, but the legacy gift that you actually create for that is actually around 8 to 20 times larger than the net costs.
Okay, let's play that out for the simple mathematician for a second. Like, what do you mean? Like, if I give, let's say donor's like, okay, I'm going to give, instead of my $10,000 check that's going to go towards cash flow and payroll, I'm going to give you a $10,000 one-time premium gift.
Over and above the $10,000 they're already giving you because they want to make sure that they're creating a legacy for your organization.
Okay, so it's like a special bonus. They're like, okay, I want to give you a special bonus. I'm going to keep your cash flow payroll gift anyway, but you've motivated me to think about the future with you.
Bingo.
I'm motivated.
But beautiful.
So I'm going to give you now another $10,000 one-time payment policy. Like, what would the market give? Like, what would be the future, I guess, beneficence or gift to the organization?
So as I said, depending on the age of the individual, right,
Yes.
and their health and all of that, it's going to be somewhere between 8 to 20 times larger than their net cost. So if it's $5,000, you're talking about $100,000 potentially as a gift to the organization. But it doesn't stop there, right? And people who give more than 10,000, let's say they've exited a business and they're now sitting there with a whole bunch of cash and they want to do something for their charity, we have people who give $1 million one time, right, to create these big gifts and create a whole tax benefit for yourself because you're getting the premium is considered a charitable donation. So remember, that's saving you.
And you're getting it immediately, basically.
Right, exactly. So it's especially good at this time of year before December 31st, because if you do something like this before December 31st, then you get the charitable donation that'll help you mitigate taxes in April of 2027, because we all know charitable donations can help you minimize your taxes by up to 75% of your net taxable income. So it's kind of neat. So that's one aspect of the My Par gift. Okay, it's great. Mm-hmm. There's two other sort of bonuses for the charity and also for the donor. Number two is that these policies produce a dividend every year. They've been paying dividends for over 100 years. That dividend, one dividend option is to take the dividend in cash. So the charity could receive this dividend every year to use for their ongoing business needs.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow, here's $1,000 or $500, whatever it is, the dividend. But the third way the charity can benefit is these policies have something called a cash surrender value. It's kind of like the equity in the policy, right? And that's owned by the charity. So if the charity ever needs money, right, there's a fund there that they can either leverage against to use for current needs, or they could borrow against. They could actually take money out of it. There'd be no taxable distribution at all because it's all owned by charity. So it's got different combinations and permutations. The main thing here is that we as fundraisers, and I call myself a fundraiser because I'm always,
always making fun,
handling somebody for a donation, right? Is that fundraisers have to go to their donors who are giving $10,000 plus and talk to them about a legacy gift, or I call it a blended gift. And what that is going to your donor and saying, instead of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to ask him for more money, it's going to be too painful. And that'll dial down my current gift. But you go to him and say, listen, Thank you so much for your participation, your partnership. We couldn't build the organization without you. But we also have to be very sensitive about the organization's future. At the same time, we want to be sensitive about your family's legacy.
Yeah.
So what we'd like you to do is this year, we'd like you to consider a blended gift. So you know how you're giving us 10,000, or let's say you're giving us $20,000. We'd like you to take 1 year's donation, and we'd like to create this one payment my par gift policy. And here's what it looks like as a legacy gift, right? Which eventually, after 120, that could be turned into an endowment where it's invested, and it could spew off lots and lots of money for the organization going further. Fundraisers are worried, oh my gosh, he's going to dial down my money that I need to keep the lights on. But what we see is 9 times out of 10, the donor really appreciates the responsibility the organization is taking. And they'll say, you know what, this is a great idea. Let's do this, and let's do this. In other words, they'll find another donation to create this legacy gift. And yes, it's down the road. We always think, I need money today. And but because this policy has these abilities to take out dividends or cash value, it's got more, more jump to it. But unless you're having those conversations about the future, unfortunately, the future comes and it's just getting harder and harder to collect money.
That's right. And you're saying, basically, I know your big thesis is that there's just a lot of money that's left on the table, so to speak, in the community because we're just not being strategic with it, right? We really believe, or you really believe, that there's $1 billion of lost potential earnings for nonprofit philanthropy just because people aren't thinking smarter about it.
Yeah, 100%. I had a meeting yesterday with a couple that reached out to me through my ads on the Toronto Scoop. They need to come up with money for weddings and stuff like that, marrying off kids. So what they do is they have some stock and they sell the stock, and whatever the gain is, and whatever they paid for and what it's worth today, 27% of that gain goes to the government. It's called a capital gains tax. They had no idea that. Wouldn't it be much nicer to just donate that stock in kind, the certificates, to one of our local charities, and now you pay no capital gains tax. And again, it's just another way you save taxes over and above that when you get the fair market receipt. And then that can be used for things like what I'm just saying.
And I'm just curious, like the combinos, as they say in Spanish, you know what I mean? Like, can you take the capital gains, you have stocks that matured, you have some capital gains there, and then you're speaking with the donor, be like, can we parlay that into a policy? Right? Because now all of a sudden you just took something that was going to be taxable, and now you're creating a long-term, very channel of wealth, right? That's really everyone's winning, and it's massive leverage throughout. It's just about playing the time.
Right. And I like what you said. It's kind of like it's table stakes. There's money that's sitting on the table. I think the real responsibility and opportunity is that we need to be providing more wisdom and knowledge to our community. And that's why, obviously, Josh, that we're doing this, that, nobody is educated. The financial literacy in this area around giving, how to give strategically, not just while you're alive, but actually when you die as well. I was on the phone today with somebody who just died about a month ago, and she was a single woman, been married before, but no children. There's going to be a big tax bill. And she was very charitable, but never got around to doing something. So I'm now working with siblings, and she was a woman in her 70s, and the accountant, to now move the shells around to create charity from the tax. In other words, turn tax into charity. Mm-hmm. And that could all be done as part of estate planning. But my par gift, as an example, is just one of probably 30 strategies that people should be really looking at when it comes to sitting and planning. How do they want to be remembered? What do they want to do? How can I give more tax and cost efficiently?
Yeah, I just think also the simplicity of things, because I feel like there's a big barrier, as we're saying, it's financial literacy. Some people feel like that I work enough. I have a lot on my plate already. I can't also become all of a sudden a statistician and an accountant and a wealth planner to think about these policies. And people can feel, I'm just thinking for myself, people can feel very overwhelmed. But I feel like the Marpart gift really is a really simple, hey, it's a one-time.
Elegant.
Yeah, it's elegant. I think
elegant.
You should have called it the Mark gift.
I think when we are living in times of busyness, like everyone's busier than ever. We thought we were supposed to have more time, but we have less time. and we're distracted, and it's not possible to know everything. So that's why people really need to have a team of professionals. They need a good accountant, a good lawyer, good insurance person, good investment person, a philanthropy person. They have to be speaking together. And in our community, we have some very great professionals. But trust me, I've dealt with a lot of a lot of these people's clients, and nobody's talking to them about this stuff.
I feel like we should have a breakfast. I feel like we should make a breakfast a symposium, like a morning breakfast together,
Wow.
where we just kind of like
Bagels and Lux, like that type of thing?
bagels, Lux, and Deluxe, and
We'll have to speak to Sruly about providing it.
yeah,
Of
sponsored
course,
by. You'll pay for that one later. But yeah, I think, I just think like there's like kind of like these breakfast roundtables could be like a very powerful, practical thing. You get the lawyer, you get an accountant, and you get someone speaking from behalf of the nonprofit plus your side of the table. Just create awareness. You know what I mean? Where all we're doing is talking over, schmoozing and smearing over how to smear the community.
100%. I think we've talked about it, and I've talked about it as well. It's like you need a Yom Iyun, right?
Yeah.
And it could be a workshop. It could be on a Sunday. It could be a lunchtime. Or I do like the idea of the breakfast, and we invite the community, and we invite people to get the education that they need. And the challenge again is now getting like overwhelmed with so much stuff. So I don't think we can have 10 professionals. You have to have a couple of
Yeah.
but just to give, edutainment and information and wisdom and knowledge, and then be able to provide them either resources or networks of people that can help them to actually execute on some of these stuff. But the key is you can't ignore it. There's far too much rusting on the line here. And why give away all your hard-earned money or a big percentage of it to those schnooks in Ottawa?
Yeah. And look, politically sensitive.
Sorry, you're right. You're right. I hope that they'll censor that part about the schnooks.
Yeah.
Because I don't want you. We'll do that.
But the point being, I think it's just about saying like we get to choose and where to direct our assets. And the government makes a symbiotic relationship with the citizens in this manner, right? That's why the policies are developed this way, because like the government's like, we understand you have.
They're endorsing this 100% because they know they cannot sustain the social fabric in Canada's. That's why they make, there've been 25 different pieces of legislation since 1995 to make it more favorable for people to give to charity because they can't afford to keep the whole enchilada going. So it's really knowing that and having that information, and then also just finding out what organizations are important to you. What's important to you? If you are a fundraiser and you have donors and you've had that relationship, you're important to them. They want to hear from you. They want to hear, how can you help me to have an eternal relationship with this organization? I'll tell you, and we talked about this before, but I just love the story about Paul, who passed away a year ago, February. He did something so elegant. He took his CPP that he didn't need, that would end when he dies, and he bought $1 million life insurance policy, right? So, and the beneficiary of that policy is his donor advised fund. So when he died, the $1 million went to his donor advised fund that created a charitable receipt that saves his estate $500,000
immediately.
$500,000. And then he instructed that every year 5% of that policy that was acquired by table stakes, the CPP that he didn't need, that would end when he died, 5% is going to go to this one charity that he cared about. That's $50,000 a year forever after he's gone.
And even more, because we're not even discussing the other side, which is like a donor advised fund that has a growth component to it.
Bingo.
Right? You can all of a sudden play the market, take $1 million and grow with the market, which could be anywhere from 8 to, God willing, more than 8 to 10, 20%. And all of a sudden you have like continuous growth and
of your charity.
5%, but now 5% is growing.
Beautiful. So
right. That's just the combina, as I can say.
I was the chair of the professional advisory committee at the Jewish Foundation of Greater Toronto. I was a trustee as well there. But, their fund this year to date has made 21.2%. That means your charitable money, just that you have sort of sitting around there, you have $100,000 in it. Now all of a sudden it's worth $121,000. That's called thinking about the future. That's called creating an endowment. That's and let's face it, the Jewish community in particular is tapped into a lot more than most communities. We are for our small little numbers, we are at the top of the totem pole in terms of our amount of giving. And we also have big families. So the challenging part is it's going to take, leaders in our community, Gedalim or Gevirim, we're going to step forward and say, no, we must do this. And they're going to take the lead. And now these Yom Ians are going to come in, or getting the groups of the fundraisers together to teach them more about these strategies that can help them create more money today. Forget about the future. We just want to get more money today into their hands.
I'm just like thinking how like it could work. Like when we think about like also like institutions like Shuls and schools, just like everyone's participating, but like having like a one-time like membership fee, like it can be anytime in your membership life cycle, but like a one-time membership fee of like a MyPar gift as a part of your membership package, right? So it's like, hey, like you have a membership, whatever it's $1,500 or $2,500 a month, a year, excuse me, whatever it is. But then you say like, we like to make sure that every one of our members who's been with us can bump into a MyPar gift. And this is how it's creating a legacy. All of a sudden you have schools that have 100, 200, 300 plus members. Imagine if you had a campaign where every 5 or 10 years it becomes a part of the culture of everyone opting into that system and you always have a new upcycle. What type of wealth will the community have in just a short amount of time to ensure its longevity?
It's so true. I was on a session. I just got off of a webinar I was doing, and there's one group that has created over $100 million of these insurance gifts. $100 million.
So like
over the last 8 years.
Okay.
Just over the last 8.
So theoretically, $101 million gifts per se.
Yeah, whatever. Again, it's not. But let's say, and what's happened is since that fund went into being, $10 million is paid out. Mm-hmm. So they now have $10 million for this charity, right? With the potential of another $20 million paying out over the next, not long. I mean, we're talking about certainly the older members, right? We go to 120, but people, start looking, your runway gets shorter when you get to be 65, I feel like, so you can do this just by small amounts. And it could very well be even that you have members of our community who lend their insurability, they lend their lives as insurance people who care about charity. And now we have Gavirium. We have the young paying the premiums for the premiums. And now all of a sudden they're getting a charitable receipt, and maybe they're paying it using money from their foundation to do it. Suddenly, you're right. This community, I've wanted to have $500 million in the community. $500 million at 7%, okay, would equal $35 million a year. Without talking about the growth. And that's every year. Do you know how many smiling and dialing you have to do to come up with any kind of money?
I just think of the Gavirim who feel so much pressure, right? And they're just like, there's like on my side, like how much more and how many more operations and how many more organizations and Brooklyn. And thank God, money seems to swell up. But like this just feels like it's such like a very clear, long-term strategic play that just feels like it can really deliver what the community needs, which is like a long-term sustainability plan. Because you can't always rely on the Gavirim endless bucket because there's always there's a sof, there's an end, right, so to speak. But this creates leverage, right? And now because you're saying because in practicality, it sounds like what you're proposing is like, hey, let the Gavirim play a part of leveraging their donation money already. Allow individuals to let life insurance policies be taken out on them. Right. And it sounds like and let that be in part of a vault for the community for them to grow. So everyone's winning.
Let's take it one step further. Because I just thought of this as we're speaking, right?
Yeah, we're schmoozing.
So instead, you're right. The Gavirim have a huge oil. They have a huge choke on their shoulder. It's not simple. Right? And their families are getting bigger and they have more needs. And there's in the real estate market, people are so why not have a fund where, let's say that MyPar gift, let's say it's $10,000. Wouldn't it be nice for somebody who can only afford $5,000? They pay $5,000, but one of this pool pays the other $5,000.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, that $5,000 that this person gave from their fund into this charitable fund, has created, $100,000, right, or more. So there are definitely ways to slice and dice, move the shells around. It's really though sitting down and having a big picture of, What do we want to see? And that's why, Josh, I really like these conversations, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to raise awareness, and we're hoping that we can find some apostles, excuse the language, but we can find some cheerleaders,
Yes.
ambassadors, people who want to take the yoke and say, this makes sense. This is something I want to do. And then if we have even a group of those younger people with the older people, we can change Toronto. And the future, it's getting more expensive. People are leaving our city because it's cost prohibitive. So unless we do something about it by planting those seeds now, if we do for the next 10, 20, 30 years, we can actually create that money so that, hey, we get more people staying in Toronto.
And I can imagine for some of the Gavirim who are really interested in keeping Torontonians in Toronto, right? Which is a real philosophy. Look, God willing, we all have the great call and we're all out of here one day. You know what I mean? But until then, we have an obligation to do normal hishtadlus, right? And so does this fall into that category? I feel like it does today. I feel like it's already, there's industries behind it. There's practicalities behind it. And we see that it works. It's thoughtful strategizing. And I can just imagine for those community members, I know there are some people who create strategies to keep people in the city who've created funds to help offset purchasing homes. So all of a sudden, you could imagine you just say okay, one portion of this fund is going to go to creating down deposits, right? That go into creating an equity stake that goes back into the fund, right? So all of a sudden you created a fund. You have money coming that's built off the policies. You have funds that are helping to pay for down deposits and payments. And those deposits create equity for the fund.
Wow. Josh, are you looking for a new job by any chance? I'm just wondering, I'm like, wow, Josh. It's like the apostle. Like I said, the matrix. You're the one. The matrix. He's the one. No, but you're thinking right. You're thinking smart. That's it. We have to do it, and thank God the schools the schools are expanding. We have more schools now. It's amazing. Things are set up infrastructure wise, but now we have to look about planting for the future. And unless you're being proactive about this, nothing's going to happen. Somebody passed away. I just want to say somebody passed away in our community a few years ago. One of the big Gavirim, one of the founders of our city. I don't know if you know this, and I'll tell you offline, but he died, and he left a $1 million life insurance policy. I mean, they're a billion. One of the names, right? He left $1 million insurance policy. This organization got $33,000. This organization got, and one of the organizations that got the $33,000 said that this is great. This pays for 1 week of our salaries for our Kaller or whatever. You know what? But this person left, it was a $1 million policy, and these charities were so appreciative. $1 million, that would cost nothing. Imagine we had $100 million. Changes the whole infrastructure of our city and changes everybody's lives again. But if we can set it up where it's done through house money, table stakes, we're turning taxes into charity. Whoa, it's just a win-win-win.
And it's leverage, right? This is leveraging an industry. Right, that's really what we're talking about, because somehow, some way, it feels like it's almost too good to be true. There's it's going to continue to work out like this. This method works, and it does, right? Because there's a multi-billion-dollar industry of life insurance that's backing the model that's a part of it. Now, Hashem can always change Teva as it is, but as it sounds like right now, it sounds like what we're doing is it's leveraging an industry and a methodology that can really have substantive, real hard-line changes in the way we live in our community today.
Yeah.
Or if not today, tomorrow. Or tomorrow's tomorrow.
Yep. And I just want to add one last thing. I have a whole mentoring coaching program called powerplatinum.com.
Gratuitous plug.
Oh, sorry. But I'm willing. By the way, all of the fees for that go directly to my donor advised fund. So don't get it. I have to be careful with that too, because otherwise I'm going to get phone calls. But, we have great advisors in Toronto. We have amazing accountants and lawyers and insurance professionals and investment professionals. That Yom In, right? They have to be. Those are the gatekeepers.
Yeah,
they're the ones also. And I'm willing. This is not about Mark Halpern. This is about, I've been given a certain amount of strength and knowledge and wisdom, and I want to share it with other advisors because I can't do it by myself. But I know that I'm the guy who can do it. So I'm hoping that there'll be other people who join, because my bigger goal, my aspirational goal, is to create $1 billion a year, $1 billion a year. And that's working with professional advisors and charities across the country. And it can be done. And using table stakes, as I said, it's like house money. Let's do it.
I think we can still do it. And I think it's big picture thinking. And I think it's wholesale thinking, right? Because when you really start to understand the financial world, which I still am only beginning, you realize it's how much money is out there, how money shifts, and how money is created and wealth is created. And I feel like this is part of that line of thinking, of just big picture thinking, right? Though how we're thinking about larger numbers. And I love it, because you know what? With the right people behind us who really get the message, they hear the gospel, so to speak, right? But they can latch onto it. I really think that they're going to be the pioneers who's going to really create a pathway for long-term sustainability for the Jewish people, which, by the way, I would just say, as the rabbi, like that's Hashem working through us. That's the partnership. That's Hashem giving us the insights, right? So that we can build it. Bezalel had the chokhmah given to him from Hashem to build the Mishkan. It's not like it came out of nowhere. Hashem wanted us to partnership. So I feel like our minds, which, if we look on our tefillin, we say our neshama is located b'mochi, in the mind, right? So our interaction point with Hashem through our neshama is through that mind. And I feel like what we're doing right now is we're saying this is a mind thought, but it's not without Hashem. We're with Hashem too, which is another gratuitous plug for my other podcast with Hashem.
I thought it was a gratuitous plug for Hashem.
Well, it's both, because that's the plug. That's the podcast for discussing being with Hashem. So I have two. So we're doing gratuitous plugs together.
Good. Okay. I'll leave you with one story, and then I know we have to wrap up. A family had a $3.4 million estate tax on a parent that had died. They had a lot of other money, and they were going to pay the tax until they got introduced to me, and I met with some of the siblings, and I met with the accountants. And instead of that $3.4 million being paid as tax through the proceeds of the sale of mom's house, they wrote a check for $7 million to their family foundation for charity. It's going to go to Torah. It's going to go to and now that tax of $3.4 million became entirely charity. And they weren't aware of that. The accountants, the siblings, we went through and I had the same thing happen today with another person who passed away. So I'm just saying, I was able in an hour of time to create $7 million of charity that didn't exist. Now, I hope that, there'll be a big reward. I'll have
that's a good reward in Olam Haba.
That's what I'm saying. That's a good point.
Your spiritual
I certainly didn't make anything from that. The family hopefully will do some other work, but that's how easy it is. It's about sharing wisdom and knowledge. So you're right. People got to step up, and we're going to do it, Josh. You and I are going to do it.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You like what you heard? Well, guess what? Click the link, subscribe, join us, connect with us so that we can continue to provide you fresh, awesome content. Thanks for joining.